Look at that. What?
Welcome back, everybody. Today we are discussing Pluribus. 3 days ago, I got 3 messages on 3 different platforms from 3 different people, and 3 times I went, what is Pluribus? Needless to say, this was apparently the hack's signal, and here we are, baby. Pluribus is a science fiction television series with incredible potential, brought to you by the same genius mind that created Breaking Bad. The first 2 episodes are currently live, and I'm here to say that Vince might be cooking that Albuquerquean crystal yet again. This video is meant to review, break down, theorycraft with the first episode, but I do have insight into the second. I watched it, okay? I'm a fraud. I'm sorry. But I will limit spoilers to the best of my ability and stay in the scope of this episode, or I will warn when I am sharing theories built on information outside of the episodic scope. At the start of each new series, I think that it is important to remind everybody that watching these videos is not a substitute for the real show. It is an after-show dessert. So go support them and their networks, because it is the only way that they will continue creating and eating. If you are new here, welcome. This is a fun little community manicured by yours truly, and I hope you enjoy your stay. Don't take anything too seriously, but if you find yourself in the comments reading or writing a short novel about some perspective of reality you never considered until that moment, you're getting exactly what this is all about. I have a full-time career in cybersecurity. I love philosophy, storytelling, theory crafting, and rambling about fiction on the internet. You will hear theories, wrong or otherwise, and inappropriate humor that may be related. And if you got that joke, welcome back. But without any further ado, let's overthink an Apple TV show about space or civilizations or existence. I guess I don't know yet. I mean, it probably relates to AI or algorithms, let's be honest. The episode begins with a symphony. We start on a cool night in New Mexico, approximately 63 degrees Fahrenheit or 17.33333333333, repeating, of course, degrees Celsius. We know this because of Dolbear's law, though the Texas trailing crickets that are singing into the night sky in order to get laid was not really accounted for in the original study. I highlight this because right away the show introduces communication of a non-human species via sound, frequency, and then shows us one of humanity's great attempts to sing into the night sky as well. This is the Very Large Array in New Mexico. It is a very large array of antennae that we use for various studies and operations relating to space or science. It is quite realistic that a place like this will be the first to discover extraterrestrial communication, though I recently read that a majority of astronomy happening on Earth is now being done by amateurs. This could have just as easily been discovered by some random person with AI-powered computing, autism, and a hyperfixation on space who is wrist-deep in nacho cheese Doritos and League of Legends when they noticed the first ping. I have to wonder if this is really the first person to discover our new overlord's message or not. Could other actors in this story still be hidden from us who are isolated because they knew the risk? Maybe they're plotting their next steps while we get the perspective of the people experiencing the invasion. In episode 2, spoiler alert here, we do learn that the plot was discovered before they completely took over, which made them rush the process. But we have yet to see who exactly figured out that there was something wrong happening in the land of enchantment. More so, we are given a countdown clock before anything really happens that shows 439 days. We know by the end of episode 1 that this is counting down to the point of no return for infection, but perhaps we will see another countdown later in the season with an earlier time marking the true starting points for the people that will save the world, or the other actors who know that something is wrong going on. I don't think that they are giving us this solely for the purpose of us knowing that it takes exactly 14 months to recreate something. Again, they tell us this later, that tell our main character explicitly that it took 14 months. So this could be used as a brilliant device which helps the audience keep track of when everything is happening.
Bullshit.
They discuss finding the signal, and the skepticism is immediate.
They repeat
repeats every 78 seconds. The whole entire thing. 3 hours straight and no end in sight.
Repeating every 78 seconds is interesting. Like maybe 78 seconds on their planet is a standard measurement of a minute on our world. Depending on the size of the planet, how fast it rotates and orbits the sun, I have to imagine that measurements of time will be different for most planets, but all advanced species that want employees to punch a time card would come to some fundamental similarities, like minutes, seconds, hours, days, years, and so on. It could be an arbitrary number, but if we have any ancient alien astronaut theorists in the comment section that have any other thoughts, I would love to hear them. They then show this discovery to other space people that have issues with Mother Nature.
Maybe it's those chatty Cathys at the Forest Service. I hate those guys, always on their radios talking about trees.
Also, as much as I love when the writing is on the wall, I cannot make out what any of these formulas are, and I'm again finding myself 6 hyperlinks into Wikipedia pages, and everybody knows that after the 4th, you're not going to find the information you're after. I think it relates to probability because we see a p-value, but I'm hoping the community has more intel as well. If I had to take an educated guess, it relates to... They then talk about some more nerdy science things, including this major bit we need to keep in mind.
This is coming from 600 light years away.
So 600 light years is quite a long journey, and we do know that it came from Kepler 22b, but we will talk about that a little bit later. It's not clear how long the planet has been receiving the signal, but we know the distance that this signal had to take. 600 light years in real life is a popular pre-nova superstar called Betelgeuse, but I'm not sure if that is relevant at all. They have not mentioned this correlation in the show, but I do want to talk about, a similar situation. I did find out that Betelgeuse is going to go supernova sometime between tomorrow and the next 10,000 years. So maybe this is highlighting how a species survives. Humanity would do everything in its power to remain. End of sentence. I have to imagine life across the entire universe would. Life makes you want to live. And if your star is exploding and you can recreate yourself or create offspring or, clone yourself in the form of a string of data that you broadcast across the universe or to a single another location in the universe, hoping for a lesser species to continue your legacy, why wouldn't you, right? You're going to be dead. This is it. This is how you get off planet in some observable way. I fully believe that if Earth was faced with a world-ending event, that we would broadcast the human genome in every direction, hoping for the species to continue. The thing that interests me most about the hypothetical is that if the signal did exist in this kind of way, if it was targeted directly to Earth specifically, or if it was broadcasted in every direction. Did they have information about our planet and found our species to be compatible hosts, or was this a Hail Mary mission? Whatever it is, whether it is unicast sent directly to us or multicast sent directionally to some various planets they selected, or broadcasted in every single direction that they possibly had the power to broadcast in, I think that it originating from Kepler 22b is showing us that the writer wanted us to know that the planet that it came from had a similar Goldilocks zone that we have right now, because that is how we understood life to exist. And if life there is doing what we're doing, they probably figured out that we're in their Goldilocks zone, and that is probably the highest chance that they had that we would be comparable hosts.
The pulses are of equal duration, but they're positioned across 4 different frequencies.
This leads to them bringing in more nerds to discuss what clearly needed to be 2 nerds throwing around the old pigskin.
Imagine the power it took to send it. Megawatts? Gigawatts? And that's if it's pointed only at us.
This is where the discussion about broadcast, unicast, and multicast really starts. Each have interesting elements to dive into, but we really don't know. We just know that it took a metric buttload of power to do, and ideally, we could create that amount of power.
Antenna the size of Africa. Bigger.
And I think that is more or less how this virus/organism thing operates. It optimizes, it enhances, it makes efficient. We see right away the infected hosts start taking care of the society. They pull people from the wrecks, put out fires, or are removing the dead. They are efficient, and that efficiency may be exactly what it needs to to do in order to stay alive. It optimizes the infected host in order to optimize itself. Perhaps every world infected before, assuming we weren't the first, was similar to us, and they used a globalized people with a hive mind connection to advance technology and everything else, really, in order to live in that world for as long as they could until it needed to jump to the next for whatever reason. That is assuming there isn't a connection back to the home world, and the hive mind on Earth isn't part of the hive mind 600 light years away, though again, we don't really know. This could be an entire galaxy of hive-minded hosts that have access to more than just our local planet. We don't really have evidence for that, so I'm assuming right now that the hive mind is isolated to the single planet that it is on, and right now that is Earth. But a line later on about the cellular networks being brought down makes me believe that they could be trying to remove radio pollution or the interference that we're seeing in order to establish better communication to the home world. Or maybe they're trying to prep for their departure to the next planet now that they have infected this one with like a 99.999999999 success rate. After all, the sun will one day explode and humanity will need to be off of this rock long before then in order to not die of temperature and radiation increase. And yeah, viruses just want to live.
You go to all that trouble to send a message. It's got to be more than just hello.
This is when the Harbinger of Death here realizes that it is not a base 4 alien cipher, but an RNA sequence. This means the aliens either knew RNA in a similar way that we have come to understand RNA, or RNA is something that every single advanced species comes to understand at some point in their development. It's interesting that life would develop in this exact way across 600 light years, but it does seem like us and the alien species may have some things in common. We see the timer is now at 71 days, meaning roughly 1 year has passed since the message was first discovered. We can see the quest for truth is fully funded, a team of curious cats infecting rats and hoping the old fable doesn't come true. During this montage, we see the whiteboard here, and man, oh man, what a beauty. None of this was apparent to me on first study. This is not my field at all. I like IT and, the computer. But this Redditor seemed to put together an incredible post about their understanding of it, and I encourage all of you to read it in full for additional information that will be linked below. But yeah, it is more or less the plan to turn the sequence into the virus that it becomes. This here stands out to me right away, and it appears to be a sequence of amino acids in written form. This part about OR1D2 is also interesting with our fabled poster's help. Because this in real life is found in sperm. And if the hive mind is actually offspring of its original sender and not the sender itself, nor connected to a larger hive mind spanning the cosmos, this marker was used because it intends to tell us what occurred on Earth is simply a greater life form recreating. The virus was the sperm and planet Earth was the egg, making the connection to the crickets at the very start. And keep in mind that only male crickets are chirping like this in order to spread their genes. It makes that scene about the discovery of the signal just that much more compelling. Both of these, if true, are about a sperm trying to find an egg. We also see that the rats have hands and have beaten our scientists who just keep taking L's 8 times. Then we come to the slop-slinging stud who loves her Wattpad words as much as every writer who has ever made an account and tried to secretly write fan fiction in the shadows.
With a languid nod.
This scene was rather incredible. Such a great way to introduce this person. Our protagonist being this is just unexpected, and I fail to understand how she is going to save the world, though who really knows if that is the story that we're getting. This shot also shows us these two twins in the middle ground. I'm curious, but it's more of the background building blocks that could relate to recreation, or maybe explicitly telling us that the hive mind process is less about offspring and more about creating a copy of yourself. The shot overall is beautiful and somehow so uncomfortable. I could tell that she didn't want to be here reading to these people before she ever finished reading. Maybe it was the demographic or the look on these women's faces or the weird black cracks framing her here, but something is just off. Also, look at the lights here. Look at how they hang above the books as if they were chosen because of the antenna that we saw before. And yeah, I mean, this happens a few times in this episode that I'll point out, but it is an incredible composition. Also, the lead having her back to the camera, it's off-putting. It's forming some kind of barrier between us and the excitement. We are witnessing this instead of being a part of the scene. We see a montage of her signing books, meeting fans, and dealing with a whole lot of this.
If Ramon doesn't come back, I'm done.
Girl, if you don't get out of my face and go write your own YouTube video since you want me to stop talking about my personal life midway through the perspective-sharing satire that surreptitiously coined my content, what a weird feeling this must be. We see the slogan about keeping the winds at your back, and then moments later, the virus is literally spread through the air.
This is Paulina and support person.
I'm sorry, this is her support person? Also, I'm noticing that Helen's earrings have a similarity to the antenna that we saw before.
Hey, robot.
We see them take a small group photo in front of Barnes & Noble, and finally, we get to know our leading lady. She gets into the car, and the smile fades.
I'm sorry, should I know who you are?
Depends. You a big fan of mindless crap?
Helen grabs her hand, knowing her discomfort, and we come to the United States Army Medical Research Institute for Infectious Diseases. This is a real place, and the fact that this is the first group of people to create the infectious disease that takes over the world makes me really wonder why. Maybe the sequence could have been a bunch of different things, and it really depended more on the species receiving the message than it did the sender's original purpose. Maybe the sequence only ever takes this form if the receiving civilization are still considering militarized bioweapons or war in general. Maybe if we were completely at peace with ourselves and as such less likely to be a threat to all of the people living out in the cosmos, this message would have been turned into player piano music and formed a century of cultural influence defining what gods sounded like. Maybe it's a vibe check of sorts, and the fact that this publicly funded military group was trying to use it instead of musicians meant that we needed to be saved from ourselves, or we needed to be stopped from harming far more in the cosmos in some distant future when we get the technology to get off of this planet. In other words, maybe it only affects civilizations that still have the capacity to do harm to others.
They got you two working late.
Yeah, I gotta gas a bunch of rats.
They then describe the sequence as a lysogenic virus while also detailing all of the other species humanity had to hurt in order to achieve their own full-hearted ends. This brings us to the topic of moral consideration in less obvious ways, maybe, which we will continue in episode 2, but if we are incapable of giving moral consideration to the species we live with and are able to use them for experiments and just disregard their lives and disregard, what they want in order to get what we want, why would we not also consume any other that we find along our way through the cosmos? A lysogenic virus is a virus that will find healthy cells. It will sweet talk their way into the cell. It will add their viral components without serious harm to the host, and it will live. The idea behind this viral replication strategy is that when the cell replicates naturally, the new healthy cell will already have the virus's DNA inside of it. What we need to consider is if the lytic cycle comes into play with this alien virus at all, because if so, the virus is only appearing to be lysogenic or, has like a phase 2 and will eventually burst the cell walls and spread the virus anywhere and everywhere it can reach. That could look like, humanity just dying and like we start seeing much more of a worldwide viral infection that is more like a plague that we would know. Or maybe the lytic cycle is the signal itself. And when the lysogenic virus is done and it is time for that next phase, it is time to escape the cell. What that actually is being broadcast from the infected world to go in and find a new place to infect.
We got bupkis.
The two suit up, discuss the ethics and feelings about gassing lesser life forms, and then we see an insane person doing an insane thing.
You got a heartbeat?
Can't feel jack shit in these gloves.
At this point, I'm yelling at the TV. Surely they must have some tool for measuring this or something.
Really got a heartbeat. Strong ones, just bam, bam, bam. It's weird. If I didn't know any better, I'd...
She starts washing her hands, and the way this was shot is just incredible. So incredibly freaky. It's a scary moment to be either of these people, and the fact that this series leads to her simply showing her coworker how much she appreciates him. I mean, it's so wholesome, right? Also, I really have to wonder if the virus mutated once it reached the human host, making her the first of the Hivemind, or if the rat was numero uno. When she stops seizing and her caring coworker continues trying to help, we can hear this swinging metal pulley.
Jen? Hey, Jen, can you hear me?
It kind of sounds like a mouse squeaking, as if when she is staring off in a single direction, like she's thinking about something, what she's hearing is the rat itself, and it's being masked behind really creative sound and set design. It might not be, but I think that might be the cooler thing.
You got skinny arms. You think maybe...
The virus then starts spreading right away in the most beautiful and terrifying way possible, through affection. This was the first time I've ever considered a virus having a positive effect on humanity and how other life trying to exist in the same universe could latch onto us in similar ways. Imagine if the herpes simplex virus, which is continued in 70% of the world's population right now, adapted at some point to increase the sex drive of the persons infected. It would have the perfect way to continue spreading across the dominant species, continuing its existence in the DNA of that dominant species, and viruses that have an observable positive effect on the host would be masking their presence, because it's only when you get a skin rash do you realize that something is wrong. It is literally such an insane idea to me. Like, who knows how much of our DNA is here because of lysogenic viruses or similar things latching onto our DNA, making it bigger and better and badder. What if we crawled out of the sea and the reason we started walking had less to do with wanting food outside of the wetness and more to do with some strain of DNA that appended itself to us however and whenever, and we grew little nubs on the underside of our blob as a side effect of that. And then we realized that we could leverage those little nubs to get further and further, and then the rest is history, or a matrix of these events that led to the Homo sapien being what it is today. This moment, 10 out of 10. I love the way they move. Efficiency is a big goal for the Hivemind, I believe, and they start showing us this right away. Step 1 is to infect, step 2 is to spread, and the virus utilizes the person's mind and memory for step 3, unity. We then see 3 hours remaining. The last one was 71 days, so of course 71 days have passed since the virus first started spreading. Air travel being the next thing that we are shown is of course no coincidence.
I'm gonna get some gum.
Our main character is such a diva, but also good on her partner for doing this at the airport. We gotta sell those books if we want to eat, and honestly, only the ones on top are going to get to eat. However, it is showing us that her character is not someone who is giving moral consideration to her fellow man. The author that she just demanded her henchmen banished to the basement will likely have less sales because of this. Not exactly a good moral compass, and of course, this leads to DUI 101.
Seriously?
I had 1 Tito's in Salt Lake. That was like 2 hours ago.
She has an ignition interlock device installed into her car, which means she has also not given moral consideration to the people around her at least once the night she decided to drink and drive home. Depending on the state, this could have been done the first time she was arrested for it, or this could be a pattern. I'm leaning into the pattern idea because she tries to drive after drinking on the plane, knowing full well that she would have blown above the 0.02 blood alcohol level that this device checks for, and she just doesn't care. I love how they develop her character, by the way. This is it's a self-victimizing baby that is also likable because she's just like a real person, but she gets thrust into a life where she has to be the responsible voice of reason. She is meant to be unlikable. And I think that she is because she's a human character meant to show that we're not some perfect monolith of our species. We make mistakes. And as long as we can learn from those mistakes, self-victimizing behavior included, we can still be good. We can still, be someone who deserves moral consideration from the people around us. Also, look at the leading lines in this shot. I mean, this is beautiful.
Bright Manhattan. And a Diet Pepsi.
Carol then tries to convince her designated driver to drink, and Helen changes the subject to...
Hey, cheers to the best tour yet.
Carol then gets back on her bullshit.
Best book tour. What is that? Is that like best stomach cancer?
Thankfully, Helen has the ability to tell it like it is.
Oh, how I hate all those paying customers showering me with love and respect. And why do I have to make so much money? How do you bear it?
Carol doesn't even respect her readers, her supporters. She hates her loved writing, and that's because she hates herself. She has room to grow. She has room for perspective.
Maybe it's time for your serious book.
All right, now this interests me because I hate the name Bitter Chrysalis, but it does have some meaning. She is the bitter chrysalis. She is the one who needs to evolve into something more beautiful than this self-hating hoe that she be. The reason the book is not done and she is not ready to release it is because she is still undergoing the transformation. In some ways, humanity could be viewed as that bitter creature in the process of a transformation too. But I don't think she expects her serious book, likely about introspection, to end with Hakuna Matata Hiveminds.
You really think Bitter Chrysalis is that good?
I think people will love it.
Such a supportive partner. We love you, Helen. I hope you don't die.
You ever read Finnegan's Wake?
And I know what you're thinking. Hax probably downloaded the book on Audible and listened to the entire thing because he really cares and wants us to know the deeper meaning around this important conversation. I don't know what this book is about. I started Googling and realized that some kind of crazy thought experiment relating to writing that incorporates over 70 different languages to form crazy gibberish that people with PhDs will swear is genius. It could be. In fact, it probably is. But after spending some time to simply understand the summary of this book, I don't. Regardless, it is still art to some people, and it is still genius to some people, and that is the point of the scene.
All I know is it made me miserable trying to get through it. I figure you make even one person happy, maybe that's not art. It's something.
I fully believe that if writing only ever makes one person happy, it is art. If your time is spent pouring pieces of yourself and your perspective into the written word, and it only ever makes you happy, it is also art. And that is the beautiful thing about art. It's not about subjective good or bad. It is about truth. Finnegan's Wake was hated when it first came out. The vast majority hated what this man poured his soul into, but the seemingly objective ranking was destroyed as time went on. Now it is considered a tome of truth that one must dedicate a moment, short or long, to understand. It is art. Just like Raban's tight little pirate Bussy is also art. It represents her wife, her attraction to direct women, and the truth exists in those pages. Some of her fans may know, but her resentment towards her fans as dumb little creatures may be because they aren't seeing the truth in her writing. They just enjoy her smut. We just need to ponder why and how she lives in a society where she feels the need to change or hide the gender of her character.
To Raban. Proud, haughty Raban.
They go outside to smoke and we see the air base on lockdown.
Ooh. You wanna hear what Houston Mom 78 says about Blood Song? Best White Carl ever.
They discuss the reviews and comment section of their new book, talking about the people as if they were, commenters that they have talked about and known before. I love this because I've had many discussions in real life about people that I recognize from my comment section and the support that they give me. Mostly it's just me, eye to eye with my 1 foot tall dog, making direct eye contact, telling Morty all the positive things people say about him on the internet. And I wrote this Python script to scrape every comment from every video I've ever made so that I could tell, so I could do this little bit with Morty. Okay. Like it was going to be a funny little joke, but this was the last comment mentioning our fearless leader, and he finds that unacceptable. So if you could, solely for the purpose of making my dog happy and not at all relating to the algorithmic desire to drive engagement with calls to action, please leave a comment letting Morty know that he's a good boy. I will read each of them to him personally.
16, 17, exclamation points.
They then look to the night sky and see mother trucking chemtrails. I mean, what a wild sight. It took me a minute to see it at first, but my goodness, this is terrifying. The implication is that the virus utilized the infected hosts to make an airborne version of itself fit for our atmosphere, and here we are. This is how the world was rapidly taken over.
Actual man you were thinking of when you came up with Raban. That's hilarious.
Again, this tells us that Raban is not a man.
Put George Clooney. It's safer.
Safety is the reason she did not feel like she could tell the world her truth. And George Clooney being named directly makes me really hope that we see this actor in the series at some point. It would just be such a funny joke. Just have him in some kind of role. I don't know. I don't care. I just hope that they do that.
Shit.
Then the fit hits the shan. Carol runs over to help, but there is nothing to be done.
Helen, should we call someone? Helen, stop looking at the goddamn phone.
Nightmare. And seeing your partner drop like this, even more so. Helen hitting her head may be the reason that she died later. Either way, the virus has her and the information that she has on Carol. The phone being broken is interesting to me because of a line later, but let's dive into that later. However, we can see the screen cracked where her thumb was, which I just find to be such great attention to detail. For some reason, they wanted us to know that Helen's seizing broke the phone and not the drop itself. No, thank you. I do not know what I would do in this moment, but I do not think that I would enter. It is so well shot, and it brings us into the moment as she tries to comprehend while we do as well. We see her pry the phone from the bartender's hand, hurting others in, just right away in this new world, meaning that she is safer than she realizes, or that she was safer than she realized in the world before. She grabs the sign. This is just such expert quick thinking here, and then tries to get Helen into the car that she cannot drive. And so maybe not expert quick thinking, but she was thinking quick. However, we do see Al Capone on the bar's wall for some reason, and Al Capone famously had syphilis, which is largely believed to have contributed to his death because it was left untreated for many, many years. Syphilis is a type of bacteria. It's not a virus, but I have to imagine the sexual transmission nature of syphilis is telling us something here. She blows into the IID, fails, curses the world, and then leaves her keys in the car window. She hijacks the seizing person, not being gentle at all, and gets Helen into the back of his truck. We then have a moment of peace as she drives for help. Little does she know that, This shot shows us the great scale of death here, happening as a side effect of the world just suddenly stopping and ceasing for 10 to 20 minutes, I'm estimating. She gets to the hospital, finds the condition is exactly the same, and above the doctor are the words, "Join us," which just feels so perfect. And then she saves this baby from falling, showing us some caring bone in her body for others. She then borrows the hospital stretcher and comedically hurts others in her quest for safety. Helen then smiles at Carol and dies. Spoiler alert for the next episode. If we believe the Hivemind, we do know that Helen joined the Hivemind briefly before dying, meaning that all of the intimate information that she knew about Carol is in the collective consciousness. I really was debating if that was the case or not after the first episode, because Carol seems like the type to only have one confidant in her entire life, and them not knowing Carol's entire life would give Carol some kind of good advantage there. Of course, that's not the case, I think. Again, if we believe the Hivemind in episode 2, which maybe we should not. She tries with everything she can to save her love, and the beast bares its teeth. The people start walking and working, leaving her dumbfounded. I said this before, but it is all about efficient operations. The virus wants to live, and the best way humans know how to live is in a functioning society that isn't, perceivably on fire. So they start putting out the fires. They start helping the hurt and burying the dead.
What is happening?
This shows the hive mind that Carol is not part of the hive mind, and it also shows them that direct transmission is not possible with Carol, ruling out some kind of issue specifically with the airborne version. The only other version of transmission that we have seen is saliva to blood with the rat and the first scientist, but so far a tsunami of hive mind rats has yet to be seen anywhere.
What's wrong with you people?
Okay, no thank you. No thank you, I don't want any of this. I don't want what she is having. Waiter, please. I do love her reaction. A moment of what the fuck before running for a vehicle just seems perfect and common sense. She's not doing some dumb thing here. Also, the hive mind puts down Helen's body when they try to take it, and there isn't a fight. This, as the first introduction to the intentions of the beast, is awesome because they could have just as easily swarmed her. She had no shot if they did. And them respecting her boundaries after, of course, the rapey kiss, which proved something was wrong with their Krabby Patty secret formula, tells us that something is off. This is just not what we're used to. There's not like some massive horde of zombies right now. This is just a new being. As she drives home, we see the efforts of the hive mind, and at this point, I'm pretty sure many of you thought the people in the car here were still real people. The scene is designed to make you wonder who and who is not, but then all of the people start working in unison and it becomes much more clearer. I love this. They show us the virus is wanting to help those in danger and with a sense of urgency that resembles human concern. She gets to the house, she realizes the door is locked and her keys are still at the bar and does whatever this is to gain access to her domicile.
There's a spare key.
This moment was straight out of a horror movie and I loved it. It shows the hive mind with access to information, infecting everybody, even children tucked into bed for the night. They are able to remember things that they shouldn't, and who knows if the children saw previously that she hid the key there, or if Helen's memories are being accessed to provide this information, but it doesn't really matter. With the collective knowledge, they can now give Carol helpful information, making themselves helpful in a very uncanny way. And explicitly recalling the date in which the key was placed there is just not human.
Leave me alone. Please.
Sure, Carol. Just give us a couple of minutes to clear out.
The small children then get into the front seats of the car, showing us the hive mind sharing knowledge and expertise right away. And then
We're very sorry for your loss.
my God, please don't be. You know what? I'm okay. Also, another way to read that line is they are sorry that they lost Carol. We're very sorry that you aren't part of this great thing that we are now. We then see the two large men carrying bodies while a smaller person, likely a woman, directs and drives. This is important for a big reason that we will see throughout the show, I believe. It is about efficiency. The virus is able to identify who is fit for what job and creates the team to do so. Every single person on Earth now has an understanding of how to carry a dead body, but it didn't pick the smaller creature to carry it, it picked the larger. I think that we will see this throughout the series as a way to show how perfect optimization isn't all that it's cracked up to be. If you don't get a say in what cog you are in the system is kind of flawed. Men will largely be the people doing manual labor again, and women will either all be flying planes or weaving processors or be sent to a permanent birthing hospital somewhere to continue having genetically optimized and perfectly matched children. The hive mind now knows who should and should not reproduce, assuming that it wants to, as if it were Hitler picking the master race. It is such a tiny detail, but I have to imagine that this is the first building block to the main issue at hand here: agency and consent. If the woman directing wanted to be the person carrying bodies, sorry, you're just better at holding flashlights, so stand still, little small baby girl. If the man wanted to write books, sorry, like, get back to the coal mines, you fucking ape. And that's the life for able-bodied people. That's not even considering what they would do with the elderly or sick. If all of this is about creating an efficient system to keep themselves alive better, if you broke your leg and you were losing too much blood, wouldn't it be better just to put you down? If you were in the hospital right now when this happens and you were receiving chemo or, needed a kidney, wouldn't it just be less expensive to let you die so the next generation could have more kidneys or, chemotherapy? Like, if you're watching this YouTube video and not subscribing for more content in the future, wouldn't it be better just to round all of y'all up and... But enough about that. The point is, utilitarianism and the quest for a greater good is always the correct answer until it infracts the will, peace, life, agency of a single person. Then we need to weigh how, why, and when. The issue is that we don't know if these people consented to lose their individualism and might not ever be able to trust the entity that stole it. But if the world was ending in 600 years, and this was an effort to optimize the planet in order to save the species from a threat we don't yet know, maybe the ends justify the means. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Oh, fuck yeah! Oh, God bless America.
This is when things get really trippy. I could not believe it. I could not believe this is how the plot was developing. They took down all of the TV stations, leaving one channel online with a person ready to speak to her on national television from the White House directly. A floating number on the screen beside her name, letting her know to call at her convenience. She picks up the phone, pours herself a drink or two, and walks back to the couch to make the most important phone call she has ever had.
Hi, Carol. Thank you for calling. This must be so bewildering for you, so terrible.
You think? You think so? Thank you so much for the empathy, right? But what can I do for you?
Especially Helen's passing. Please know, none of that was intentional.
They say that the humans who died did not die intentionally, and for the most part, I believe them. However, I think that clearing fields for corn would lead to the death of the other plants and creatures that live there without the person's knowledge, and them dying or having to find a new home would also not be intentional. So keep in mind, they aren't sorry that they did this thing. They are sorry that they lost part of the workforce. And I think that they wanted the unintentional dead to be simply cogs in the productive machine. I think that in order to replenish those numbers, that we may start seeing a whole bunch of happy pregnant people in a few months' time, and I would not be surprised if they intended to replenish the population or excel it. The other thought that I had here was about food scarcity or resource scarcity on our planet being so much of an issue that maybe even with a perfect system designed by an alien, we just had too many people living here. Maybe they did not intend for that fact to be true, and so, as such, it was unintentional that people had to die so that the others could live, laugh, and love.
If we can help you in any way, please let us know. We can deliver food, medicine, whatever you need.
Of course, they say explicitly that they want to know what is wrong with Carol in order to fix her and add her to the hive mind. But I think it speaks to the larger system at play here. It adapts, it learns, and then creates a bigger, better system for the next world or next version of itself. If they can identify exactly why Carol was immune, adjust the settings to include that anomaly and why everybody else was immune, the next planet will likely have less people resisting the contagion if they go again to another planet that is similar to the one in the Goldilocks zone, Kepler 22b, now Earth, and then who knows where else they'll go. But it does kind of feel like they are learning, they're adjusting, and then going for similar species that are likely susceptible in similar ways. They literally need her in order to be a better version of themselves.
We are here for you.
Honestly, maybe the virus is just a helpful creature. I think I take back every bad thing I've ever said about it.
We'll want to call from a landline as all the cellular networks are down.
Now, this is so interesting to me. All right, I mean, like, this is my first and foremost theory that I want to talk about, and it is radio waves. Because of how we received this signal, one of the things that we know about the invading species is that they communicate over radio waves. If the psychic glue that is allowing our entire species to communicate with each other is a peer-to-peer mesh network of radio waves sending and receiving between the hosts, I would not be surprised. I don't think that they need to explicitly spell it out like that, but I think that we can infer maybe that's already what we're seeing. We already have another electromagnetic wave in our brain, and they are called brain waves. So in theory, it won't be long before we realize how to amplify those signals and transmit them to others. Not even memeing, telepathy could be possible for our species with the right technology. However, I don't think that the show will need to define psychic glue more than it already has, maybe until it's time to defeat the big bad, and so it can like start leading up to the events where they realize, like, I don't know, maybe cutting off the radio frequency from a person is all that it takes for that person to regain themselves, or that exact action could happen and then it kills the host after they lost the signal. Either way, it doesn't really matter right now. What does matter is radio pollution. All of the Wi-Fi, radio, microwaves, cell phones, TV stations, everything else that use frequency to send data back and forth are all adding to a mess of noise that makes sending data over those channels much harder. The cell phone towers, of course, do not need to exist because most of the world has one mind right now, but would all of the cell phone towers really be down in this process? Like, not even one? You know, what exactly happened at the cell phone towers? I believe it's masking the true intention of what they're doing by hiding behind this, right? Like, everything is in chaos. Of, you know, the cell phone towers being down is not like out of the realm of possibility. But again, I think the true intention of taking this technology down so quickly is so that they can send and receive more data more efficiently. The landline is unaffected because the signal goes through the copper cable, so it wasn't something that they felt the need to take down. It's not really affecting them. I also think it's why they show us Helen, you know, breaking her phone in the process. It's like a little foreshadowing of the beast of this entity being anti-cell phone, anti this technology that is consuming the space that it believes that it needs for efficient communication. And why, when Carol pries the phone out of the person's hand at the bar, the signal gets a little funky.
Operator will be with you shortly. You've reached the outbreak.
I believe the signal is distorted because a minute or two into the prep time for a new host, they start sending and receiving their collective consciousness. The distortions are other radio wave frequencies overlapping with the ones designated for the phone and the receiver, meaning that the data is trying to send it across the entire spectrum, and it is, you know, getting blocked by the phone and receiver. And I think that, you know, maybe this is one of the points where it learns that it needs to, you know, get rid of that blockage. Or maybe she just walked too far away from the receiver, and I'm talking for no reason again. Either way, one of those is much cooler than the other, so...
We feel like we're doing all the talking here. Are there any questions you might have for us, Carol?
She demands that this is an alien invasion, but they are sincerely saying otherwise on national television, so I guess we have to trust them.
What the fuck is with everybody's shit like this?
So funny. I mean, great acting here. Love this. Also, this line interests me.
Are you reading my mind?
No, absolutely not. We couldn't do that if we wanted to.
This really feels like they wanted to, but found out that humanity just didn't have the capability for it, but maybe a species before did or something. I don't know. It just really seems like more. At the very least, knowing for a fact that they can't do it means that they have tried or thought about doing it.
We couldn't do that if we wanted to.
Who is
Then the hive mind shows a little bit of social ineptitude.
You know, we could continue this after you've had a good night's sleep.
It feels like the hive mind is this super analytical being that doesn't fully understand the qualia of a human experience. On paper, she likely needs rest. I mean, I would be tired after all of this, but any human would know that it's not time for the analytical part of your brain. It is time for the emotional. She is emotional, and she needs to be for a little bit longer after what she experienced. Not being emotional might sound like the right thing, but she would be a psychopath if she wasn't feeling what she was feeling, which is really how the hive mind is behaving.
Who is we?
We is us. Just us.
Who the fuck is us?
Real quick, also look in the corner here. It's forming that antenna shape with the wall, just like Helen's earrings and the dishes from the very large array. It's just something about this. It's a reoccurring thing, I think. It's just so neat.
There are no aliens. None on this planet.
Okay, bucko, I see what you're doing here.
We are, however, beneficiaries of extraterrestrial technology.
This is such a neat way to say this, like beneficiaries of extraterrestrial technology. Right now, I kind of believe this. They might not have an active connection back to the benefactor, but I do think the reduction of radio pollution and a species of people working in unison could either regain that connection to join the original hive mind and send the information that they learned here back, or ensure that they have a way off planet when the job here is done, whatever that job may be.
14 months ago, astronomers discovered a radio signal from 600 light years away.
Kepler 22b, we meet again. This was the planet raised by wolves, and after some digging, I realized why. In 2011, this was the first planet we confirmed to be in the Goldilocks zone, meaning life could be forming there in a comparable way than it is here. Or maybe, just maybe, Raised by Wolves is making a comeback, and this is part of the same universe. I mean, like, let me dream, okay?
There's no telling how long it's been repeating, maybe throughout all of human existence.
What a wild idea, right? I mean, maybe this is where humanity came from, like the origin of the first DNA that would ever become life on this planet, and it has been sending the signal so that whenever we matured, or, you know, whatever the DNA was meant to mature into matured, we could join the rest of the real civilization. I mean, I think that there is like such a interesting plot there, but only time will tell.
Guanine, uracil, adenine, cytosine, RNA. It is not a living thing per se. It is more akin to a virus, though it's not that exactly either.
She does her best to understand, as we do, and we meet Davis Taffler.
This particular individual, this is Davis Taffler.
She wants to talk to the president, but we learn that he and many other senior members of Congress have passed away. The inclusion of senior is interesting. They could have just said members of Congress. I mean, we all know that they're a bunch of old geezers, but senior makes me again think about the efficiency stance. If the goal is a perfectly efficient system and senior members did not have meaningful lifespans left, or would create a situation where they needed more resources to live than others do, removing them is just easier for a perfectly efficient machine.
Davis Taffler happened to be nearby and intact, and he was wearing a suit.
Again, so weird. They could have said healthy or unharmed or nearby or able. Intact is what you say when you're drinking whiskey at a 32 and up men's club and your boy asks if you've had a vasectomy. It feels like a great double entendre, and if true, it means that reproductive health was a major deciding factor in who lived and who died during the transformation. Or, you know, it doesn't mean it, but it could be that.
Nobody's in charge, or everybody's in charge. Really, there's no such thing anymore.
I love this sentiment, but I've done the experiments. Someone or something has to lead. In this case, the hive mind leads those who are not yet hive-minded. Internal to the hive mind, I think that the originating planet is in charge. And if it's not that, if this thing is solely by itself, then the thing in charge is the desire to reproduce, spread, or live. Something is always in charge.
There has got to be others like me.
There appear to be 11 other individuals like yourself.
They tell Carol about the others who are like her and the confusion they are experiencing too. Then they drop the bomb.
Rest assured, Carol, we will figure out what makes you different so we can fix it, so you can join us.
The way this is delivered is 10 out of 10 cinema magic. They're so happy. They're so caring, but they don't actually care about the feelings of the person that they are talking with. And it's haunting.
So what happens when I say no?
Carol, once you understand how wonderful this is.
She hangs up the phone and they call back right away, showing us that she cannot escape this. They will continue to quote unquote keep caring about her in order to get what they want, and then she will be one of them or no longer needed.
Hello? We're sorry we upset you, Carol. We only want to make you happy. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up!
The final moment of episode 1 is a clock ticking upward. 1 hour has gone by since the infection, and I can only hope that Carol goes and gets another drink before bedtime. But with that, we come to the end of the video. This was such an incredible first episode, and I am feeling so fortunate to be back discussing it with all of you. My wonderful bot accounts that I purchased when I was 15 years old from a hacker forum guy named Doug. I cannot believe you are still here. You're a real one, Doug. More videos are coming out every week. Do not forget to subscribe. Watch these after every episode so that we can theory craft together and, shit talk each other when our theories are wrong. Politely, nicely. I'm just kidding. You cannot do that. You have to be nice to me. It's like part of the Hivemind contract. Much love, everybody, and I cannot wait to talk to you all again soon.